Hello everyone, welcome back to the Film Insight channel. In today's video, we're going to cover some of the worst kitchens to ever be featured on Kitchen Nightmares. So, sit back, relax, and without further ado, let's get straight into the content, guys. We're starting things off with the Seascape.
Peter!
1 second.
Did you hear what I said?
I heard you.
I didn't ask you to go and mop up their shit.
Used to doing it?
Oh, God.
That's not the right answer, bud.
Given that it first opened its doors in 1962, Seascape Inn, located in Islip, New York, is one of Long Island's oldest dining establishments. The restaurant, owned by Irene and her son Peter, was featured in the 4th episode of the first season. Back in the day, the inn was bustling with business, but now it's struggling to stay afloat. Here's how Peter described the Seascape to Chef Ramsay.
Describe Seascape for me.
It's the Titanic. It was a luxury liner, and it's sinking.
I see it as a very poorly run restaurant.
At the time that the famous chef was called in, Peter was $1 million in debt and was at risk of losing the business for good.
$800 to $1 million to save the Seascape.
I don't want my doors to close, but what am I doing wrong?
When Chef Ramsay later joined the owners at the table, he almost immediately detected a bad odor in the dining area. As disgusting as it may be, it actually turned out to be sewage. The famous chef places an order through a waitress named Marilyn, who has worked at the restaurant since 1967. That's some dedication. Anyway, he gets some crab cakes, lobster ravioli, and Cajun salmon. As he waits for his order, he decides to inspect the place a little bit. Chef Ramsay finds that the decor is dated, ancient, and worn down. The first dish to come was the crab cakes. And then came the salmon, which was too dry, and the lobster ravioli, which wasn't fresh. When Marilyn shared Chef Ramsay's feedback with Chef Doug, this was his reaction.
Doug, you make the crab cakes here, right?
Yes.
Are they frozen?
I freeze them, yeah.
He says they taste like they're frozen, that's all.
Really?
Yeah.
Chef Doug was insulted that the famous chef just stepped in and judged this food. He felt it was a slap in the face of his 38 years of experience in the kitchen. Later on, Chef Ramsay was offered a baked green cookie by Irene. To understand a little bit more how the restaurant operated, Ramsay drops in during the dinner service. The majority of the food that was served was sent right back to the kitchen as the guests were simply dissatisfied. The customers complained about a range of things from the food being cold, undercooked, and even charred. The famous chef found that the kitchen was a mess, which hinted at a larger issue. It became increasingly clear that Chef Doug could care less about anyone's feedback. Chef Doug really only had one thing to say.
He may not like the way I cook. If he doesn't like the way I cook, that's his opinion.
The following morning, when Chef Ramsay returned, the walls were covered in old food and grease. It seemed like the Seascape was rotting from the inside. Additionally, he discovers that the pesto that was previously served to him was stale and moldy. Irene had claimed earlier that the most recent health department inspection was conducted less than 6 months ago, though it's really clear that this was a lie. Chef Ramsay had had enough, and he finally decided to confront Chef Doug. The famous chef takes the ignorant owners on a tour of their kitchen. But all that Chef Doug had to say was this.
To have another chef in my face about my kitchen, I'm pissed off, believe me.
From stale bread to tainted chicken, the famous chef wasn't surprised when Peter said that he wouldn't eat anything from the kitchen. Despite having 20 reservations for the night, Chef Ramsay decided to shut the place down. He highlighted that it would stay closed until the kitchen was thoroughly cleaned and sanitized. Chef Doug and Charlie brush things off and don't even look embarrassed about the situation Chef Ramsay caught them in. But things were only beginning to get heated. Chef Ramsay prepares a dinner with fresh bass for Chef Doug and Charlie, but Doug is just too stubborn to try it.
You don't want to taste?
No, I'm good.
Taste it.
Jesus.
Taste it, Doug.
No, I'm good, thank you. I didn't try the fish that Gordon had made because I basically know what striped bass tastes like.
And this is what Chef Ramsay had to say about that.
God, that's the first time a guy's never tasted my food. Now I'm seriously insulted.
The famous chef encourages Peter to fire the chefs who contributed nothing to the business. They were lazy, filthy, headstrong, and arrogant. For once, Peter mans up and takes a firm decision to sack both the chefs. Finally, Chef Ramsay's crew revamps the place and hires a new chef. The famous chef tries his very best to polish up the menu and improve Peter's managerial skills. Apart from a few hiccups, the guests adored the new food. Thankfully, the relaunch was a complete success. 5 months later, in August of 2007, Seascape was sold to new owners. Currently speaking, it's called J&R Steakhouse, and the reviews seem to be pretty good. Moving on to the next being Casa Roma.
Get a bin and get every ounce of dirt out of there. This thing here detects body fluids. A look at this.
Casa Roma was featured in the 7th episode of the 3rd season. Established in 1958, Casa Roma was the oldest restaurant in all of Lancaster, California. Nyla purchased the place with the help of her son Jeremy. She impulsively purchased it while looking for business prospects after her divorce. The mother and son duo had no experience in the food industry. While Nyla had previously worked at a grocery store, Jeremy was into carpet cleaning. Upon Chef Ramsay's arrival, he finds the bar to be packed with customers, but the dine-in restaurant was completely deserted. With profits ranging anywhere between $9 to $175 a night, the restaurant was in desperate need of Chef Ramsay's help. In 2.5 years of running the business, the owners had switched 20 chefs and had finally settled with Chef Eric and sous chef Drew. Does this mean that they finally landed on some good ones? Absolutely not. While waitress Ashley described the food to be boring and bland, here's what sous chef Drew had to say.
We totally are in dire need of Chef Ramsay's help because there's something that's got to be turned around about this place because it definitely is a nightmare.
This man is quite the character. It hurt his ego to know that Chef Ramsay was coming over to judge his food. This is what he said.
People say, well, he's a 5-star Michelin chef. Okay, so he's got 4 tires and a spare. Kiss my it means nothing to me.
While Chef Ramsay waited for his order, he noticed that the blinds were dusty and that bits of tissue scraps were lying on the table. After waiting 15 minutes for his order to arrive, he decides to do this.
That's what's... Damn.
45 minutes in, Chef Ramsay decides to do this.
I might as well keep fit and do something, hadn't I? No? Go for a jog, got a marathon coming up.
And what was Chef Eric doing? Check this out. When his first order finally arrived, this is how it turned out.
Tasteless. There's not even crab or any form of flavour or texture or anything in there, but what worries me more than anything, they're just full of water.
And there was more to come. Chef Ramsay came to understand why the restaurant wasn't making money. When the famous chef confronted Chef Eric, this is what he said.
It was a bad day, pal. Now you're pushing it. Enough. I get it. We understand.
Bad day?
Yeah, happens. You never had a bad day?
I do have bad days all the time.
Obviously, you haven't one today. Just relax, take a chill pill, reload, and do it again.
The head chef, who was in denial, storms out of the room. Later on, when Chef Ramsay walks in for the dinner service, the first thing he notices is the lack of communication between the staff. Chef Eric does things at a sluggish pace while Chef Drew does things without any clarity. It wasn't much of a surprise that most of the food was returned to the kitchen for either being undercooked, too dry, or cold. Chef Ramsay had seen enough, and this is what he concluded.
It's incredible. Right through those doors has to be, for me, one of the worst restaurants I've ever seen in my entire cooking career. And not any form of communication between the kitchen, the restaurant, and management.
The famous chef finally urges Nyla to sack head chef Eric and assures her that it would save the restaurant. Chef Ramsay hands the kitchen to sous chef Drew, expecting him to do a better job. Meanwhile, Chef Ramsay found this.
Just need defrosting.
Some of the meat could have been 3 months old. It would be an understatement to say that the stench was awful. He then uses a blue UV light to inspect the restrooms and discovers that bodily fluids were splashed all over the ceiling, walls, and floor. How disgusting.
Honestly, I've seen enough. Let's get the out of here.
Nyla realizes that she needs to step things up and improve her managerial skills in order to keep the restaurant open. After a thorough facelift, Casa Roma was relaunched as a brand new pizzeria. Chef Drew stepped up and delivered mouth-watering food in time. However, sacking Chef Eric wasn't enough to save the restaurant. It closed down in July of 2017. Well, it's quite expected. And as our last entry, we have Campagna.
All your food. The tortellini of veal was just bland and watery. Then my grilled sausage. I've never seen so much garlic in a dish in all my life.
Gordon Ramsay travels to Fair Lawn, New Jersey in the 9th episode of the 1st season. Joseph Cerniglia had acquired the Campagna restaurant 18 months before this episode was taped, yet it was already on the verge of closing. Up until Cerniglia took over Campagna, the restaurant was pretty profitable. This was because Cerniglia was unfit to manage his staff. He was very relaxed and the staff took full advantage of this weakness. At the time of filming, the restaurant owed $80,000 to suppliers and partners and was over $250,000 in debt. When Chef Ramsay arrived, he shared his displeasure with Cerniglia about the fact that the restaurant was in a strip mall. As they talked, the owner confused the famous chef with his weird behavior. Chef Ramsay tries to ignore the disturbing hand gestures made by the owner and finally places an order. As he waits for his food, he can hear the staff chilling out and having fun in the kitchen. The soup is the first thing to arrive, and he finds it to be quite unpleasant and bland.
It's just bland and tasteless.
The waitress tries to avoid answering Chef Ramsay's question about whether the meatballs were made in the kitchen or not. She finally gives in and reveals the truth.
Are they popular?
Not too many people order it as much, no. So no.
Thank you, mate.
You're welcome.
The ravioli was disappointing and smothered in a sauce full of garlic.
Garlic everywhere. Big chunks of it everywhere. Ay.
The chicken was equally as disappointing, being sweet and dry.
It's dry, it's sweet, and it's... Oh dear.
Chef Ramsay found that the kitchen was pretty well maintained. When he had a look at the walk-in refrigerator, however, he found this.
I don't understand what's going through his mind to have this fridge stocked with all these ingredients and no customers to cook for.
Considering how few customers the restaurant had, there was really no point in stocking on food for weeks. During the dinner service, Chef Ramsay was shocked to find out that the restaurant doubled up as a high school playground. The staff was unruly, untamed, and noisy. And exactly why was this happening? Well, it's pretty clear that they were overstaffed. As a result, Chef Ramsay had to do this.
Staff costs. Right. Who's going home? Sorry guys, thanks for coming, but thanks but no thanks.
The famous chef found flustered customers reaching to order food from the outside as they waited. Despite Chef Ramsay trying his very best to bring some order into the kitchen, the dinner service was disastrous. The other major problem was the portion sizes. Due to this, the cost of food and supplies were completely inflated. Chef Ramsay confronts Cerniglia about the unnecessarily large portions of each meal. The famous chef explains to him that doing business this way is as good as throwing money down the drain. Visibly upset, the owner goes into denial and asks Chef Ramsay not to embarrass him in front of the customers. After a quick talk with Melissa, Cerniglia's wife, Chef Ramsay understands that the couple's mounting bills were causing a strain on their relationship. The following day, Chef Ramsay shows the kitchen crew how to prepare and present food.
Okay, chicken. Cut off the drum and the thigh and then sit them on top of one another so it just looks a little bit neater, yeah?
Chef Ramsay introduces meatballs as the new signature dish. They later set out into the community to advertise New Jersey's best meatballs with samples and leaflets.
Stop on in and have some dinner one of these days.
When Ramsay and Joe eventually have a one-on-one, Joe reveals that they've lost $120,000 in the past 18 months. Cerniglia admits that in total he owes $200,000 and Chef Ramsay advises him to start taking things seriously. Overnight, the restaurant gets a makeover with a more contemporary appearance, a larger banner outside, and a better dining space. A new stove and smaller plates were added to minimize serving sizes. The trademark meatballs from the new menu are included in both the starters and the entrees. Chef Ramsay uses a bingo competition to inspire the team. Each server stands a chance of winning $100 if they manage to sell every dish on the menu. The staff collaborates pretty well, and the relaunch night comes to a successful conclusion. Chef Ramsay compliments the staff for their excellent performance. They served 203 guests and earned $7,500, which is triple what they made the previous night.
Midnight, say we took in about $7,500.
We made 3 times what we made last night.
After Chef Ramsay's visit, business at Campania significantly increased. Later, Cerniglia finished second in 2009's Bergen County Ultimate Chef competition. However, destiny had other plans for him. In September of 2010, Cerniglia's body was found in the Hudson River after an apparent suicide. Investigating officials said it was a suicide. He died from drowning and blunt impact. He jumped from a height. He had sold the business just 8 days prior to his death to Campania Holding Corp. However, Campania closed down for good in January of 2011. May the man rest in peace. With that, we've sadly come to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Were any of these your favorites? Let us know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to give us a like and a share. Also hit the subscribe button to never miss out on our updates. Thanks for watching, guys.